last month and a half in my life, I've used that quite a bit. And it has a magical way of getting us through difficult passages. I can't do it. But there's a dimension of me that was made in the image of God that can bolster me, that can enable me to be calm in the midst of chaos, that can give me a light in the darkness. So, I commend it. And everybody has those spaces in their lives where they really don't know quite what to do. It's a matter of day by day and week by week and doing the best we can. And we will have 90 seconds of silence in just a few moments. And what I commend to you is that we get still and think of those spaces, those dark holes, and allow the light of, I can do all things through Christ, through that aspect of me that is invincible, that is creative, that is patient, that is understanding, that is just can go with the flow and not drown in it. Because we all have that. We're all alike. Outside we're very, very different. Inside, we are all the same. That core of our being is exactly the same. So we can all draw on this, every single one. So, shall we, just for a moment, get still and address mentally those spaces and let us know that I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. And now shall we come back to present time, knowing that we are strengthened in the most beautiful, level, calm, and creative way as we reach within ourselves and know the truth of ourselves, that this dimension, this part of us that we sometimes neglect for long periods of time, this dimension bolsters, supports, and helps us whenever we turn within. I thank you.
Is that your? Oh, thank you. You're welcome. I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I've heard a tender whisper of love in the dead of night, and you tell me that you're pleased and that I'm never alone. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Oh, I've been many searching for answers far and wide, but I know we're all searching for answers. Only you provide, because you know just what we need before we say a word. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Because you are perfect in all of your ways. 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 You are
You know, I haven't stood in this pulpit since Christmas Eve. That is a long time, my gracious. And my apologies that I've messed up the orders. I should have asked for you to recite the divine science statement of being after me, together with me. So shall we do it now? Okay. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all, that is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am the individualized expression of God, and am ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I'm supposed to do a healing meditation now. I already did it, but that's okay. We can do a little bit more. Meditation benefits us, blesses us on every level of our being, physically, mentally, emotionally. So let's get still. We'll take a deep breath. And just realize what infinite resources we have, what is available to us. We think that, oh no, I can't do this for this reason. I can't do that for that reason. Or so-and-so prevents me. Life prevents me. And yet within the parameters of those things that we feel prevent us, there is infinitely more freedom to grow, to bloom, to experience, to revel in, to create. Far, far more than we ever dreamed possible, if we but trust. Follow our intuition, follow our intelligence, follow some wise advice from other people. All of those are available to us. And so right now, let us give thanks that we can stretch for the stars, we can grow far beyond the bounds that we think that we have, that we can experience the good right where we are. Because that which is infinitely good, infinitely powerful, infinitely loving, is both with and within us. Omnipresence means everywhere. God is omnipresent. He is within as well as without. He is in everything, throughout the universe and beyond. And we give thanks for that power streaming through us, expressing through us, and bringing yet and yet and yet more good into our lives, into our being. Let's have just a moment of inner quietude. Giving thanks for all the good that is unfolding right now within us and around us, all the time, everywhere. Thank you, Father. Amen. Yes. We will say the affirmative version of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed is thy name. Thy kingdom is come, thy will is done on earth as it is in heaven. Thou givest us this day our daily bread. Thou forgivest us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Thou leadest us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Thank you. Well, my talk is entitled this morning, Immune. Well, you start at ground level, and ground level is Mr. Webster. Go back to Mr. Webster and find out what that word means. And immune comes from the Latin, which means not bound, not bound. But in its more contemporary meaning, actually, it means to be exempt from, to be freed from, so that you're not susceptible to something. And of course, the medical definition would be to be protected, to be not susceptible to some disease or other. Now, we've heard a lot about that lately, haven't we? Be sure to get your flu shot. And lots of people have, and have found that, the shots did not address the particular virus that a lot of people have had, despite having the flu shot. We haven't realized immunity from that bug as well as we should have. The hospitals are full of people. But on the other hand, for the most part, our own immune systems do a routinely marvelous job of protecting us from all sorts of things, from illness. Those white blood cells going through the bloodstream, constantly waging this successful, for the most part, successful war on bacteria and viruses and parasites and fungi of all sorts that enter into the body and then are promptly demolished, killed, and then released from the body, excreted. Our immune systems are so wonderful. They usually do this so harmoniously that we don't even notice. We don't know that we have had something in our bloodstream that could have hurt us. It goes to work. But on the relatively rare occasions when the body can't handle a brand new, especially virulent pathogen, we're fortunate really, to have a medical establishment that's advanced, that it's available, and it can help us. They try their very best with the medicines, but we find that the medicines, some of them are very good for some people and not so good for others. I was prescribed, in my recent illness, I was prescribed something like 4 medications, and 2 of those medications I took one time, and they had such serious side effects that was the only time I took them. And they were not inexpensive either. So one can have a hard time with the side effects of certain medications. So the medical establishment has a way to go. Now our daughter, Lisa's partner, Trish, found a spot on her arm and noticed that it was getting a little larger, and she took it to the doctor. And lo and behold, it turned out to be a very rare, virulent, aggressive form of cancer. And of course, they took a big chunk out of her arm, and then it had already invaded her lymph system. Radiation did not help, but a brand new treatment that supported the immune system, that is not universally known at this time, but was available to her, and by gum, it helped her body to fight this cancer. And it worked, praise God, she is still with us, and the CAT scans show no cancer in her body. Well, what a cause for rejoicing. But the side effects have been appalling. Putting her in the hospital for short stays a number of times, taking her to the emergency room on yet more times, requiring use of strong medications that had their own difficulties, and to this day, it's a year and a half later, and she's still experiencing that. In other words, medical research has a long way to go before they provide medications and methods that are tuned to an individual's specific needs. They've got a long way to go. Now, we absolutely have to give them credit and feel tremendous gratitude to them for helping to decrease and even eliminate some of the world's worst illnesses. But I know that they know that there is much work to do, much work, before we can each individually receive things that will help us uniquely to calm our own bodies, to heal our whatever might confront us physically. So this certainly has something to say about our physical immunity, or sometimes lack of it. Now, how about mental immunity? Now, we hear about that a lot these days as well with the Me Too movement. Women speaking out about sexual assault and harassment, sometimes in the house, many, many times in the workplace. And it's long overdue that such unacceptable behavior is made public, and of late a number of very well-known men have been accused by multiple accusers of having inappropriate behavior and have disappeared from the scene, evaporated, as well they should. It isn't, though, just girls and women who have been exposed to this, because men and boys have been, there are plenty of instances where they too have been permanently, sometimes emotionally scarred by these things, as well as women. Now that's for some people. But then others seem to have a more robust emotional immune system. And they have learned to reject seeing themselves only through the lens of such experiences, or allowing those experiences to play and replay through their minds. They've been probably exposed to all kinds of mental, emotional, physical abuse, possibly. Now, someone was telling me about a woman who was Vietnamese, who was a child during the Vietnam War. And one can only imagine the experiences of that child, what that child saw, the privations and the fear that poor child must have felt. But it has so impacted her behavior that she is a very difficult person to deal with. So her emotional immune system was impacted to a great extent. Very difficult person to deal with. But some people seem to have the knack of developing an emotional immune system that helps them create a robust resistance to ants. I'm not talking about the little things you find in your kitchen in the summertime. I'm talking about ANTS, ants. That means automatic negative thoughts. And we've all got them. Automatic negative thoughts. They pop into our minds automatically. Some people routinely live with automatic negative thoughts. They have the most negative view of themselves, of other people, the events around them. They're always focusing on what they don't have rather than what they do have. They are always noticing what is wrong and so many things that are really right. or consistently criticizing themselves, being their own worst enemy, and seeing so many things in others to criticize, putting themselves down, putting other people down, putting everything down, living with ongoing feelings of envy and anger and fear, ants, automatic negative thoughts. That's diametrically opposed to the way we should be thinking and living. Totally. Now, the beauty of this is that it can change. It has to change, no matter how little or how much we do. We all have certain things that run through our minds, and they have to be challenged each and every time we run across them, hear ourselves saying them. They have to be challenged. Those long ago negative, critical words that might have echoed in our minds over and over have to be thoroughly examined and rejected in the clear light of spiritual truth, the spiritual truth of ourselves. You see, what we are hearing is another person's automatic negative thoughts projected on us. You heard criticisms? What they really were saying was first said to themselves and then said to you. We reject those things. They're not the truth of us. Now, we may have told ourselves these lies for as long as we can remember, but they are exactly that. They are lies. Lies we've lived with for a very long time. When you walk through the doors of this church, you're reminded of the reality of your spiritual immune system regularly. You're taught that the truth of you is that you are inwardly spiritual, and that inward spiritual creation is as perfect as the creative presence that made it. Now, Genesis 1:26 says exactly that we are made in the image. We have that perfect image within us, and that will never change. Nothing we can do can change that. God cannot make mistakes. He did not make any mistake when he made you and me. We are each and all filled with an inner power, with wisdom and truth, with not just life, but eternal life. Peace, knowledge, understanding, and most especially love. Love. All his qualities are writ in bold letters on our very souls. Now, the more deeply we identify with the depth and the power of our spiritual immune system, the more we begin wanting to know the reality of this great power for ourselves. It's encouraging, it's very interesting, it's uplifting to read what it says in the Bible, what other people say about God, what Jesus said about him, what the mystics down through the centuries have said about, prophets in the Bibles have said about him, divine science founders, what they said about God. But why shouldn't we experience God's presence and his love and his peace for ourselves? Not just secondhand, but for ourselves. Others have. Why shouldn't we? But how can we do this? How can we move to just thinking about God once in a while, Sunday mornings maybe, other times perhaps, to actually knowing God? How? How could you possibly have a healthier immune system? Well, You certainly could make your spiritual immune system even healthier by knowing God, not just what other people have said or what you've imagined. How, though? How do you do it? Well, first of all, we remember Jesus' words. Only believe. If you believe it's possible, it is possible. Whatever you believe will unfold for you. That's the power, the energy behind belief. But believe that it was always intended that you experience God Himself, because that was always intended. But wait, and maybe some of you are stuck with that old thought that having an experience with God takes special people, holy people. Bunk. Balderdash. You read the Bible, and you're going to find that most of the prophets, most of them were very ordinary people who had one or more very extraordinary experiences. Belief is the first step. If you can move that far, you've come a long way. Yes, it is possible for me. But then what? Well, then comes some form of prayer. Some form. Now, some people acquire a deeper sense of the divine by just reciting familiar prayers. They say them, and it just somehow eases something within them, and they feel closer to God. Other people read uplifting literature, go to church services, and there's a real meaning in it for them. Some people just talk to God. You know, they make an attempt to reach out the same way that Brother Lawrence did. And what he did was just develop the whole idea of practicing the presence of God by talking to God. We talk to ourselves all the time. That's going on constantly. He changed it by just, instead of talking to himself, he started talking to God. And that's a beautiful, beautiful prayer method. That's wonderful. Now, some people acquire a deeper sense of God's peace and power by using affirmations, saying positive spiritual truth statements over and over and over to themselves. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. That's a wonderful one. Divine order is already established. Thy will, thy way, always, all days. That's one of my favorites. And of course, my newest affirmation is 1 to 10 to the 60th power. And I've talked about that in church. And if anybody hasn't heard that one, I want to tell them about it after church. Because there's something very special about that for me. It touches something within me. It really does. But there are other people who simply don't use words at all in seeking to realize God. No words. Most of us, many of us, have an ancient sort of visceral memory of having sat on a lap, leaning on somebody and having their arms around us. Ancient memories. I don't know. Muscle memories, something like that. And in this place, feeling peace and safety and knowing that we were loved. Or perhaps we remember that feeling because we did it with our own children or other people's children, our family children, just holding on to them and cradling them. The thing is that many of us they know that feeling, how it feels, either to do it to somebody else or to have it done to you, to be cradled and held. We felt that warmth. An idea is to mentally sit in God's lap and feel his arms around you. No words are necessary. Just the feeling. And that feeling grows, and that sense of connection grows, the reality of that inseparable link with a universal love, with a universal presence that knows us to our core and loves us unconditionally, without measure. That's what the omnipresence of God is all about. It is knowing that you are in God's arms. No words necessary at all. Now, what does having a healthy immune system, physical immune system, give us? Well, we have more energy, we have the freedom to do the things we want to do, we are not in pain anywhere, we're not constricted anywhere, we can stay active and achieve our goals. But what does having a healthy mental and emotional immune system give us? Well, it ensures that even if there have been really very, very difficult experiences and memories in our past, we don't allow automatic negative thoughts. We don't allow ants to take up residence in our minds and take over our lives. They aren't the truth of us. They are not. They are, as I said before, they are lies that we've said to ourselves for a long, long time. And we have believed them for a long, long time. But changing them is always possible. And they need to be changed one after another, deliberately, into positive thoughts. That takes work. That takes hard work. But it transforms life. It transforms life into a blessed experience, a wonderful experience. But finally, what does having a healthy spiritual immune system give us? It gives us freedom from fear. It gives us a release from seeing the world as an enemy rather than as a friend. It enables us to experience peace and security and a greater physical and mental health because, you know, what we think instantly transposes into bodily functions, helping ourselves or hurting ourselves. It gives us confidence in ourselves and in our decisions. It gives us happiness. And most especially, having a healthy spiritual immune system gives us the experience of loving God and feeling that loving presence right where we are, within us, all around us. Shall we go within and give thanks for a healthy immune system? Sometimes we come down with one thing or another, but for the most part, day by day, we're doing good. And emotionally, yes, there have been tough times, but we've moved past them. We aren't allowing the ants to take over our kitchen or our minds. We are doing battle with them. We are eradicating them by seeing them clearly and knowing that this is not the truth. This is not the truth. And finally, our spiritual immune system, which is right where we are, the core of us. For God is at our core, waiting to be experienced, waiting to show us how much He loves us, waiting to release us, free us from anything that might have constrained us. For this, all this, a gift from God, we say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass, whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I worship your holy name. You're rich in love and you're slow to anger. Your name is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. I worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I worship your holy name. On that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come. Still my soul sing your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. I worship your holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. How can I contain it? How can I contain this love? Praise be my song. How can I contain it? How can I contain this love? Praise be my song. How can I contain it? How can I contain this love?
Thank you so much, Becca. It's really special. Now it's time for blessing of the gifts. Okay, and in your bulletin, we have our affirmation, if we'll say it together. Today, I acknowledge God omnipresent as the source of all good, as the source of my good. With this acknowledgement, I accept His will, which is abundance in every aspect of my life. I release all thoughts of lack and limitation, and I am open and receptive to the increased flow of abundance to me right now. I joyfully accept the gifts of life and give freely of the special gift that I am. Through me, God omnipresent blesses and multiplies this gift for all. Thank you, dear God.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to pass the prayer basket, and those of you who would like to do yourselves a favor, will take one of the little pieces of paper and pray for that person throughout the week. And we know that we cannot give without receiving more than we are giving. So you will receive the greater blessing in doing so.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Glad to have you back, Maurita. It's been a long time, and it was great to have you back. Also, it was great to have Becca back. It's been a while since she's been here, so thank both of you all for being back today. As you know, we did not have our Valentine's party last night. You know, the weather in Virginia can just be, we don't even know what to call it. So we decided last night, instead of having it, and to be safe, we just decided to call it off, and we're going to have it this coming Saturday night at 6 o'clock. The long range forecast is to be 50s all week, so let's hope it stays that way, because of course we know it could change by the weekend, but we're going to have it this Saturday night at 6 o'clock, so I hope that everybody can come out. I haven't talked to Kerry. He just, when I texted him yesterday, he said that we were canceling. He said, excellent. Well, I don't know if that means he's coming back next Saturday. I'm going to check and find out. I think probably he will, but I just want to verify that first. As you know, today's potluck, so come next door and enjoy. Some people say, well, I didn't bring anything. Doesn't matter. Please come next door. There's always plenty to eat. Also, as you know, we had candy bars for sale for Valentine's Day. We have like maybe 8 or 9 left, so we're going to sell them for half price for $1 today, so we can get rid of them. So if you didn't buy a candy bar or you just want one for yourself, please buy a candy bar. And we raised over $200. I don't have the exact count, but it was close to $230 or $240 that we made on the candy bars for Valentine's. So thank you, Martha and Ann, for the candy that you did. Also, it has been brought to my attention that, as we know, this has been a really bad season for the flu and pneumonia. And several people had said that they did not want to hold hands during the prayer circle at the end, which is fine. We don't have a problem with that. If you don't want to hold hands, if you just want to touch somebody's shoulder, or if you just don't want to, if you just want to step back, that's fine too. We totally understand. So do whatever is comfortable for you, and that's fine. We also have some disinfectant around the rooms and all, if you want to use that afterwards or before or whatever. So we just want to make everybody comfortable. We want you to feel like you have to hold somebody's hand or whatever. So just do whatever, like whatever makes you feel comfortable. Let's see. I always like to pass on good news. I passed on good news about the money. Also, as most of you know, I'm going to talk about Nancy for a minute. Last year Nancy was very sick, and she has recovered so well. And she texted me the other day when she went to the doctor, and when we took her to the hospital last year, her blood count was 4. It's now 13 something. And so she is just doing great, and believe me, I am so grateful. And I said, she's doing great, but I just want to, when she gives me this good news, I like to pass it on so people will know that she's, and you can look at her. I mean, she's Nancy, so what can I say? So, did you have anything else? Did you have anything, Maurita, you want to say?
I'm going to be there on Wednesday.
Oh, we're not. I'm just kidding. No, the Wednesday night class we've been reading, and this, I forget, we read it every week. Builders.
Ursula
Yeah. Anyhow, but we've been doing it. So Maurita's going to be back. So Wednesday night, and we're still doing that at 5 o'clock. The coffee house is still at 6. We have a thing on Thursday night. Anything, we're trying to do things that make people happy, and so everybody can stay involved with things that are going on in the church. We're, as we've said before, this is like a family, and we try to do things. If one thing doesn't suit you, hopefully something else will. So, also, the flower calendar still got some blank spots on it, so we'd appreciate if somebody would sign up to fill those blank spots. This morning I walked in, and these flowers was like, whoa, remind me of springtime. And I was actually, I sponsored them. I was going to keep them for myself, but I feel like I need to share them with all of you all. So please take some, or one, or whatever, and just think about spring, because it's almost here.
Okay. Thank you, Jan. So for our closing hymn, is Pass It On. I'll just sing one verse. Stand as you are able.
Yeah,